welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and this is the rating show after United have drawn 2-2 with Leicester at the King Power Stadium, a game where they took the lead with barely 10 minutes left in the game, and I thought they should have managed the game better and saw it out, and they should really have hung on for the 3 points, but ended up getting a point in a 2-2 draw. Before I do start on rating the ratings, apologies for not putting anything on over the last couple of days. We've been very busy with the Christmas period and also technical issues, and we've also just installed our own, the first time we've used a green screen, so I'm getting there. I'm finding my way along as I go along, so hopefully it will be sort of improved. It'll be an improved situation for people to see in the future. So rating the ratings, I've chosen the Manchester Evening News from the game at Leicester. The Manchester Evening News have given David De Gea a 5. They've said careless with his feet and his footwork. His footwork should have been better when he let Harvey Barnes equaliser in. I agree with both of those things. I feel a bit sorry for keepers at times. You can make 2 mistakes. If you're an outfield player, you can get away with 5, 6, 7, 8, even more. You can get away with 10 mistakes sometimes in a game and still get a decent mark. 2 mistakes from a keeper though, and it can be disastrous. And his footwork was poor. That almost led to a goal, but we managed to clear that one away. But then he didn't move his feet quickly enough to get across to Barnes' shot that did end up in the back of the net. So they've given him a 5. I'm afraid I'll have to agree with him. There's no hiding place for a goalkeeper. I do feel sorry for goalkeepers in that respect, but that's the way of the world. So 5 out of 10 for David De Gea. I would agree with that one. Victor Lindelof, they've said a surprise selection at right back. Obviously, when they say surprise selection, they mean in the position, not that he was actually a surprise selection. He plays virtually every game. And he looks as uncomfortable as he was unconvincing. I'm not sure about that. I don't think he did too badly in playing out of position. They did get him behind a couple of times in the first half, but it was often that he was overloaded on that side, and it's a struggle for any fullback if he hasn't got the cover and there's 2 men trying to get past him, by passing it around him. It's difficult for him to manage that situation. And then he came off injured in the second half. They've given him 5 out of 10. I think that's a bit harsh. I think Victor Lindelof was worth a 6 for his performance at right back. Eric Bailey, the Manchester Evening News have said called by Jamie Vardy in the opening stages. That was when Vardy managed to get across him. I can't remember whether he got his foot to it or a header, but it went over the bar in the opening stages. But coped reasonably well on his first start since the Spurs trouncing in October, but left Vardy unmarked for the leveller, and they've said 6 out of 10. I won't disagree with the 6 out of 10. When they say left Vardy unmarked for the leveller, Vardy's very sharp around the box, and you can't get everything right. Vardy's left better centre-backs than Bailey in his wake to score goals before. Don't you worry about that. And he scored goals against better teams than us. So I don't think you can't expect to stop every goal. They've noted that he managed to get away from him to get his shot in. But it was very clever what Vardy did. They're expecting that ball to be fired across the 6-yard box. Vardy takes a chance and pulls away. And the lad who crosses it pulls it away from the defenders. Sometimes you've got to hold your hands up, I think, and say it's fantastic play by Vardy, but especially as well by the lad who pulled it back. I can't think of the lad's name now, but the lad who they signed him from Newcastle, I think, Perez is he called. If he pulled that back deliberately, expecting Vardy to peel away from the defenders rather than stay close. If you fire it across the 6-yard line, people have got a tap in, and it's often what people do, fire it across the 6-yard line. If he pulled it back because they've worked on that and he expected Vardy to do that, it's a better goal than it's been given credit for, although it did obviously take a wicked deflection. But anyway, I think Bailey, they've given Bailey 6. I thought Bailey did okay, and for me, 6 is a decent mark. 6 is decent to good, so I think 6 is fine. Harry Maguire, clumsy for Barnes equaliser with a clearance that did Bruno Fernandes no favours. I don't know what they mean by that and why they're putting Bruno in the frame there, because he was a bit clumsy and he slipped and he did manage to get his boot to it and clear it out. But it came to Bruno at that level, you know, Premier League footballer. Bruno's got to do better. Why are they mentioning that? That it's almost like they're mentioning Harry Maguire, giving Bruno no favours as if to defend Bruno. Maguire's got to do better, but then it's got nothing to do with Maguire, what happened to Bruno, and Bruno's got to do better as well. But then they've put, he led United impressively and mid-day dominance, but left Vardy unattended. Again, that's aimed at him and Bailey, isn't it? Leaving him unattended. Again, I'll say the same again. Vardy did great, and he's left better defenders than Harry Maguire in his wake in the past as well. But 6 out of 10 for Harry. I thought he did, you know, quite well overall. I think a 6 was fine. Luke Shaw, not tested much defensively as Leicester targeted Lindelof on either side and could have claimed an assist with a free kick. It was a decent free kick in. Yeah, I know which one they mean. United's most consistent performer. I do agree with that. They've given him a 7. I will agree with the 7. I think he's the only player to get a 7 off the Evening News. Yes, I think he is. So I said on the United stand when I was speaking to Flex that I thought Luke Shaw was man of the match, and it appears though the Evening News agree with me. I don't think they're wrong. Yeah, Luke Shaw played pretty well, I thought, but a couple of sloppy moments. But some of the time in the first half, 2 or 3 times, absolutely brilliant, getting in front of players who were expecting the ball and then going on the break. I thought he was great, Luke Shaw, really, for long periods of the game. Scott McTominay, they've said aggressive enough, but United could not get hold of the ball in midfield until Paul Pogba came on. I don't think there was a hell of a lot of benefit, really. I didn't see a hell of a lot of difference, me, when that changed. McTominay held the fort, they've said, and they're giving him a 6 out of 10. I would agree with the 6 out of 10. I would agree with aggressive enough. Held the fort. Funny little things to write. Held the fort. I suppose he's not going bombing all over the place. I think Fred runs all over more, trying to put fires out around the field, and some people don't realise the importance sometimes of sort of holding your position and just being there for when they do come on the break, really. So Scott McTominay, perfectly fine. 6 out of 10, no. Adequate, I'd say, definitely. Fred, they've put admonished by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for being off with his usually piercing passes. Well, in fact, they've played Rashford through brilliantly for a great chance. That was a great ball for Rashford, and that it was a piercing pass. But what I don't get is, to me, that's a better pass than Fred normally puts through for people. And they've put admonished by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for being off with his usually piercing passes. I think a lot of people know from what I said, a lot of people know that I'm not a big fan of Fred's, and one thing I wouldn't associate with him is usually piercing passes. I don't get that. His passing has come on a bit and it's decent, but I wouldn't say he's usually piercing passes. But they give him 6 out of 10. I went in on him heavily. Straight after the game, I always say this, straight after the game, you're all excited by the game, you want everything to go well, you're frustrated if it hasn't gone well. It's too easy to see a few mistakes by one person and say it was terrible. It's also too easy for someone to maybe score a goal and people say, oh, he was brilliant. But both things are not necessarily the case. Maybe I went in a bit hard on Fred the other night. I've watched the game back again. I still believe that he's too shoddy with too much of his work. There was one just outside the box that he kicked up in the air and it went out to their left winger when there's no need to even kick it up in the air. You've got to try and get it on the floor. If you're a central midfield player for Man United, you've got to be able to kill a ball that's bouncing and pass it. And if you're not going to do that, you've got to be able to get it up the field, not kick it up in the air and square when you're 25 yards from your own goal. Another ball came out of the box and he tries to turn it round the corner. It went straight to one of their players. And, you know, on another day, these things can lead to goals against. It didn't lead to goals against, but it can do so easily. And I just think we need to be tidier in our play at times. And but they're giving him a 6. And I would say, look, you can have a 6. Maybe I should start doing 6 points something. Because for me, Scott McTominay was probably worth almost a 7. And for me, Fred was worth only just a 6. But both Scott and Fred have got a 6 from the Manchester Evening News, and I won't disagree with it. Bruno Fernandes, they put from deft to daft. They put from deft with the first goal to daft for the equaliser. Spurned the free header to make it 2-1, but made amends by coolly putting United ahead again. Spurned the free header. That's the free kick that we spoke about earlier that Luke Shaw put across. It was a good free kick, but he did well to find space. Bruno got his head to it. He had to jump quite high for it. Unlike Rashford's, which I'll come to in a bit, header in the first half, he had to jump quite high for it. It was quite a reasonable way out, 10 yards out or something. I think it's a bit harsh to criticise him for not scoring that. He did win it easily enough. I think it's fair to call it a free header, but by no means was it an easy header, and I think it's harsh to criticise him for that. But again, they've given him a 6. I won't disagree with that. So Bruno Fernandes gets a 6 off me. Daniel James, they've given a 5 to. Did well for the goal, but did little else against higher class opponents than Leeds Championship standard defence. Yeah, well, obviously he did play better against Leeds last week, and I don't think he had a good game at all, Dan James. And I think a 5 is probably perfectly fair. 5 is poor. In my book, 5 is poor. I would say he did have a poor game. Marcus Rashford atoned for squandering an easy chance. This is they've said Bruno had a free header. Now that's what you call a free header that Marcus had in the first few minutes. 7 yards out, I would say, just outside the 6-yard box, running in, unmarked, not even having to jump. Bruno's got to jump for his, and he's further out, and he's got to try and direct it towards the goal with a flick of the head. Rashford's running onto it, and you can head it like that. I said on my fan camera, I think I would have scored it myself. And I really do think I could have scored it myself, that one of Marcus's. So that was horrendous, that. But as they have said, atoned for squandering an easy chance by making it 1-0. But had a one-on-one shot repelled by Kasper Schmeichel. I think he should have done better with that shot as well, Marcus. He was a little bit too close to him. It could have gone much further towards the corner. And it's also at a savable height if it was along the deck. I think Schmeichel would have struggled to get down to it. It was just high enough for it to give him that chance to save it. But overall, I thought Rashford was sloppy in his play. I deliberately watched the game carefully. An extra 55 minutes. Dan James got substituted on 55 minutes. And I often see this, and you can put what you want in the comments. I'm the one that's watched the game 3 times now, and I've studied the amount of times Daniel James gave the ball away, which he did give it away numerous times. But I've also seen Marcus Rashford doing the very same things and not playing any better. In my opinion, there's nothing to choose between Daniel James and Marcus Rashford. It's obviously always going to be Dan James who gets the curly finger. Rashford hardly ever gets substituted. He seems to be able to play as he pleases and never gets substituted. And I thought Marcus was absolutely no better than Daniel James whatsoever on Saturday. Certainly in the first 55 minutes while they were both still on the field. So they've given Marcus a 6. But I've downed that to a 5, the same as Dan James. Nothing to choose between them. And then Anthony Martial, they've given a 5-2. I've upped that to a 6. I know there'll be a lot of people saying he's one of your favourite players. He's one of my favourite players purely and simply because he's one of the better players. Numerous things that Martial does on there that the others can't do, and he makes a big difference. Cavani comes on. Cavani does something, makes a goal. He does something exactly like Martial can do. Martial fed Cavani during the week when Cavani scored at Goodison. Cavani comes on for Martial and feeds Bruno. Martial can do that, and Martial did come short for the ball. I remember 2 not goal-scoring chances, but chances to break away where Martial went deep for the ball, received it with all the players on one side of the field. He turns and he passes it out to Marcus, and we could go on a break, but it breaks down. Of course, I know that people will be saying, I remember Martial trying to take somebody on and losing it. Of course, he did 2 or 3 bad things, but he did less poor things than Dan James. He did less poor things than Marcus Rashford, and he did more good things than both of them. Maybe both of them put together. So Anthony Martial, to me, not a 5, a 6. So that's there's only about 3 there that I disagree with. I think 3. So yeah, but they did give Luke Shaw a 7, which I thought Luke Shaw was United's pick of the bunch. I'm not doing a player in focus. The games are just coming thick and fast. The timing, by the time I did the voting and then found out where it was, then I've got to take the clips from Twitter. I will do a player in focus. I mean, the games are coming thick and fast, but I will do a player in focus because I've not done one for this game. We've got Wolves. We've got Wolves on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and then we've got Aston Villa on a Friday night. So again, it's a quick turnaround, but I will get player ratings done the day after the Wolves game, and I will do a player in focus for the Thursday, which will be the day before the Villa game. As I say, Wolves is an 8 o'clock kickoff. About an hour before that, the team news comes out about 7 o'clock. So at about 6:45, we'll be going live for 45 minutes, discussing the injury situation, who could be in the team or who's not in the team, what the papers think about what the team could be, and then we'll also be answering people's questions after the team actually comes out. So we'll go live at 6:45. At 7 o'clock, the team news will be out, and we'll be discussing what we think about the lineup for the Wolves game. Massive game. We need the 3 points. Desperate to keep the pressure on Liverpool. Desperate to win these 2 games, and then we will be at absolute worst ways. Obviously, even better if Liverpool drops 1 points meantime. But worst ways, if we win these 2 games, we would be going to Anfield 5 points behind them with a game in hand. So desperate to win these 2 games, and they're both tough games. Tuesday night against Wolves, Friday night against Villa. That's that for now. As I say, I'll be back 6:45, hour and 15 minutes before the Wolves game live. If you enjoyed that little show, please subscribe. Please tell all your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.